Hey everyone, welcome to this fortnight's version of The People Speak Out. I'm in the hot seat again. Good to see so many of you already on. David, Love and Freedom, JT Coleraine, VIBS, Tony, James McQuitty, see Conrad's just popped in, Chris is there as well. Good to see you all. So so the purpose of these sessions, they've been running since, oh my goodness, January 2021. And they used to run every week and then they switched to every fortnight. And Helen, Sass and myself kind of share the hosting. And we've kept them going to create a forum for the freedom movement, for you to share your anything that you're getting upset about, also all of the amazing projects that we're all involved in co-creating the alternative future reality to the to the transhumanist digital command control nightmare which is being bulldozed in for us. So it's very powerful to have these groups, and I know that there are groups like this happening all over the planet, whether it's online or in person. I know there's lots of gatherings of the freedom movement groups. So this is, this is a movement, this is a wave, and it's very exciting. These are very exciting times. So if you would like to come on today's call and share what's going on for you, share your news and your views, then please use the yellow hands up symbol, and that gets you to the top of the call, and it makes it easy for me to manage. If there's something you want to share, something that is that you're getting hot under the collar about. So David's just put his hand up. Before I come to you, David, I just wanted to mention that this week is particularly astrologically powerful. Because on Saturday morning, I think it's in the morning, we have a new moon solar eclipse on the 29th of March happening in Aries. And there's a lot of planetary activity around that new moon solar eclipse. And I was listening to a very fascinating narrative about the importance and the relevance of the astrology of the current times, because we are exiting the Kali Yuga on 31st of March, and the Kali Yuga is the age of darkness. So we literally, this is the end of the age of darkness, literally, and we are returning to the light. So the solution, I've always held this, the solution to the kind of Wetiko shit show, the satanic shit show, the solution is not to fight it, not to energize it, but for us to pour light into the false matrix, and to stand in our sovereign power, and certainly to question it, but for us to vision in and co-create the alternative future reality of love and peace and freedom and truth and sovereignty, and a return to nature as well, which I feel is really important, because the cities are machines, and increasingly all of our towns and cities are being turned into machines of command control. And so this restoration of our connection with nature is really, really important, especially in terms of health and well-being. So I'm going to come to you, David, first, and I'd love anyone else who wants to come on the call to share. So, hi, David.
Hello, everybody. Hi, Rachel. Thanks for hosting again. I know it's been a long 5 years, interesting last 5 years we've just had. And I know it's 5 years since the whole pandemic began, the lockdowns began this week. Interesting times. I just wanted to say briefly, basically I attended a Truth Be Told demonstration in London 2 weeks ago on Sunday, the 9th of March, which was the same day as COVID Remembrance Day, I think it was, where we're all meant to kind of fall still and think of all the people that struggled, with all the bursting hospitals full of COVID patients, and and how COVID was wreaking havoc. So we had an alternative demonstration, peaceful demonstration, to mark the people that suffered during the lockdowns, but also people that suffered during the as a result of the jab injuries, and worse, really, these COVID jabs rather. And what was lovely is that when we were marching through the streets, we weren't getting the same hostility that we had in the last 2 or 3 years. Before, of course, as many of you know, and many of you watching will know, we've had so many insults thrown at us, calling us granny killers and COVID deniers and super spreaders. And yet, the lovely thing is that people in the streets in London were looking on in horror at our banners, at these people depicted on the banners who had been suffering, either been injured or even worse by the jabs. And they came over and they shook our hands. They were taking leaflets. They were saying, "Thank you for doing what you're doing." And the ones who didn't say that were just politely letting us go on by. There was very, very little hostility. And I think it highlighted to me how much the energy, the mood has shifted in this country alone. And people are starting to question what's been going on. So there wasn't a huge number of us, but the energy was a lot more positive than it had been. So that was really lovely to see. And I just wanted to mention that, really, because I think it's important for everybody, including myself, to remember that we have made a huge difference in the last 5 years. So never underestimate what you've all done in the last 5 years. And we need to, give ourselves lots of respect for that, really. So thank you. That's my main point.
Thanks, David. Thanks for coming on. And I think, yes, it was actually 5 years ago today, wasn't it? The first lockdown, 24th of March. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, I think yes, it was. And yeah, it's incredible how much has happened in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is an important point, and it holds true in marketing as well. It's like you don't need all 8 billion people to get it. You only need a small hardcore of early adopters, innovators, that essentially then that becomes mainstream. So like a very small number of people who are absolutely passionate and dedicated to something is enough to create a sea change and a wave. And it's very interesting, actually. Thank you for reminding me, because on Saturday night I went to Sue Stone, had a celebration, a gratitude party where she invited everyone that was had been powerful in her 20-year career as a positive coach and transformation in the world of transformation and consciousness. And so she invited me and many other amazing people. And Dr. Sam White was there, who, when I saw him, I'd never met him before, but when I saw him, I thought, oh, you look familiar. And then she was thanking him because she's actually part of the freedom movement, truth movement. Anyway, so afterwards, after she'd done her she did a bit of a talk, a gratitude talk. And afterwards, I sat with him and just thanked him for the stand that he had made of calling out the NHS. And of course, the GMC wiped the floor with Dr. Sam White and struck him off. And he's obviously been exposing not just the COVID, but also the GB jabs and the midazolam murders as well. So it was very interesting to talk to him and also to give him words of encouragement and to thank him, because I think this is another big thing for those of us who have been speaking out. It really does help to have that feedback. And actually someone else came up to me and was sort of eulogizing that I had supported him for the last 5 years and he was loving my videos and that they were his go-to resource for keeping hope and faith in dark times. It's very interesting to have those words of encouragement. So thank you, David, for your words to everyone in this movement, because we're all doing our little piece, even just showing up on these calls, even just listening and sharing them. So it's like, every little helps, to paraphrase Tesco. So would anyone else like to come on? I'm going to have to Karine, come on, and I'm just going to mute myself where I clear my throat. So welcome.
Hi. Sorry, I missed the beginning of the session. I've had an urgent eye appointment. Okay, so Yeah, I just really wanted to say on the day before the equinox, I went to Oliver's Castle, um, and there was a gathering of about 40 of us. And what was extraordinary is that Rory Duff, they managed to get him in some sort of Land Rover vehicle that could come across the fields and drive right up to the circle at the top of the hill fort. And he was able, with a Zimmer frame, to take a few steps down the slope and sit with us in a wheelchair. And we just felt so utterly blessed that he's still alive. And it was really emotional, I think, for all of us. And just acknowledging the extraordinary work that he's done. And he said, well, you know, I have been to the edge and my work is not yet done. There is still work to do. And oh, it was just really wonderful. And the day, my God, I mean, there were larks singing, there was a kite circling round us. And honestly, the light in that circle with the meditations, and I had an extraordinary download of being like a statue, like, you know, the Divine Mother, Mary. And then it was only later, it's like, well, of course, I'm standing on the Michael Mary line. Of course it would be a Mary, Divine Mother sort of thing happening. So anyway, I just wanted to share that. I've got a feeling there was something else I wanted to share, but I have no idea what it was. But the Kindness Festival in Frome has been amazing. And there was a big theme of forgiveness and kindness. And a woman from the Forgiveness Project came and spoke one evening. And oh my God, you know, it gives me great hope because there are such good-hearted people around. And yeah, and then last night Nick was singing in the Armed Man, Carl Jenkins, which, if you've not heard it, do check it out. There's a recording Nick said of, I think, about 4,000 people singing it. It's the most moving piece of music, and
It's a prayer for peace.
it's a prayer for peace, and it draws in Arabic and all everything. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say. But thank you. I mean, God, the light weavers, and thank you, Rachel, for, you know, creating this and holding this. What is it? Zoom meetings. Sorry. I cannot string words together. I'm getting all emotional again. Love and light and healing and peace to everyone.
Thanks, Corrine. Thank you. Thanks for coming on. And if anyone else would like to speak, please do put your hand up, either a yellow hand or just show your hand, so I'll know to come to you, because you're all on one page at the moment, so it's easier for me to see. And just to say, this very interesting, this thing about health, and I was speaking to Sue Stone about it, because she was saying to me, Rachel, you know, we have to focus on the positive and not get involved with all of the, you know, not engage with this kind of shit show. And she was talking about my Derbyshire Gestapo video, and she said, like, the energy of that is so horrific. But I just said to her, whilst I totally agree with that, nonetheless, I do feel it is important to make a stand, like with the courts, like contesting things. And I mentioned on the Love Movement call that I've got my appeal hearing, directions hearing for the alleged speeding incident happening on the 10th of April, which has been escalated to Crown Court now. So I'm going back to Worcester. Dean of Buxton is accompanying me as a moral support. So we will see. But I got a letter through from the court. It was entitled something like Criminal Warnings List. You are on the criminal warnings list for 10th of April. So the levels of fear that they try to put in to you, this very stark letter, you are on the criminal warnings list and you must appear. And it's like you're a criminal. And I do not accept that I am a criminal for exercising my right to remain silent and for exercising my right to travel on the public highways, which I own. And there is there is no victim. I'm innocent until proven guilty. If I'm a criminal, who is the victim? And how dare you put this label of criminal on me for exercising my right to remain silent? So these things are very fundamental and core. We were also talking on the Love Movement call about William Keat, and he's just done an amazing video about the nature of natural law and God's law, and it's very profound, and I think I'm going to put a link to it below this video. It's well worth a watch, where he really talks about the sort of karmic consequences and the spiritual roots, like way beyond religion, the spiritual roots of natural law, and why they underpin this new future reality that we are opening into, where when we all act from those fundamental principles of spiritual consciousness, there would not, if we all were in that place, there would not be any need for legislation, because at our fundamental core we know right from wrong, and in that conscious awareness there would be absolute honouring of this basic principle, cause no harm, and to live from that place of total freedom. But with great freedom comes great responsibility, so to do no harm. So you can do whatever you like, provided you cause no harm to another. And it's a very fundamental principle. It's very, very interesting. And I love what you said, David, there. Each of us is a puncture wound to the tire of tyranny. Love it. Cool. So who else would like to come on? I'm loving seeing, is that Edie or Eddie? Edie, Carlin. Would you two like to come on? I think that's the first time you've been. I hate to pick on people, but there's no hands up. So I don't know if you feel up for it. Hi.
Hi. Hi, this is the first time I've actually joined Rachel, and introduced by Imagine, who I don't know if you've been on before.
Are you Edie then?
Edie.
Edie, hi Edie.
Hi.
And Imagine.
And Imagine.
So tell us a bit about you and your your history or story, or how you came to be on here today, if it's your first time.
I came to be on here today because Imagine was actually coming on, and he said, would you like to join me? And because we're both very like-minded, truthful people, knowing what is right and what is not right, it seemed an absolute dream to come on and listen to you.
Oh, beautiful.
Listen to all your speakers. And what really resonated is what David Love said there about the tire. And we're all, yeah, it was good, that one, David. Cheers.
So are you two part of the freedom movement, Stand in the Park? What's your expression of that locally?
Stand in the Park, Rebels on Roundabouts. I've done this for probably 15 years, not what we're at now, but historically protested in London, done for various other things. And this is just something else that's coming. And, we're all there, we're all staying in the light, we're staying positive. We're not letting them shine the darkness. Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we don't need to fight the darkness, we just need to turn on the light, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a pleasure to meet you.
As well, it's about weight as well as lumens, if you like.
Explain that, Imagine.
Well, the lighter our hearts get, the more enlightened we'll become. It's about weight as well as illumination.
Yes, like density of vibration, really, essentially, yeah.
Well, yeah, we need to lighten up more.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I meant by that letter from the court. It was like a feeling of trying to bring my energy down to this place of fear, this heavy vibration of you are a criminal, and it's you're on the warnings list, and so the opposite to that, yeah. And that's a great name you have.
And perhaps look in as an observer rather than being part of it, embroiled in it.
Yes.
Embroiled in their darkness and weight and heavy mass.
which is very hard to do, Rachel, when you are actually being accused and labelled, and that isn't you.
Yeah, totally agree. Like being the witness, being on our eagle's perch, as Pound Gregory says. And that is the thing, going into court with a very conscious and dressing archetypally with my crystal. I got a great Buddha Maitreya, like a solar, like a very powerful piece of jewelry to kind of go in there and to shine the light of that into that, because it is a machine. It's going into a courtroom and you're walking into a Masonic metaphysical machine. So going in there to pattern interrupt and to kind of thwart the machine, to throw a little energetic spanner in its works. So great that you've come on. Thank you for coming on the camera.
Thank you, darling.
Anything you want to add?
Everyone.
Anything you would like to add? Yeah?
No, just keep on watching you guys doing what you're doing, and we'll all continue to do what we do, right?
Yeah, cool. Thank you. Thanks for coming on, Edie and Imagine. And let's come to Conrad next. Conrad, hi to you. I'm switching this to speaker view so we get a good view of everyone. Conrad?
Yes. Hello, everybody, and much love all. I just wanted to say that I have my nephew staying with me this weekend, and wow, it's been incredible. He is a young man in his 30s, and he's just beginning to touch the edges of understanding of what's going on. And his questions have really tested me to actually come out with something that is not just totally negative, because he will challenge me on anything that I say. Oh, if you think that's the only way to go, and I have to say, no, it's not the only way. There are other ways as well. And what it does to us to have somebody like him come along, challenge, but at the same time begin to open up little aspects of his life where he is recognizing mainstream propaganda, etc., etc. And I suggest, I mean, a lot of us I know go out and in fact speak to people in the streets, and this is something that's happening to me on my own turf, and it's really opened up myself to greater understanding how people have been taken in by the whole, as you call it, the shits show. I prefer to call them the I think John Gilbert, he calls them the Bash Street Kids. I think it's quite a good expression for them. So I just wanted to say that it's always good to talk to people, and if they are beginning to see some glimmers of light, how wonderful it is to see that light grow in them and in oneself. So that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Conrad. Thank you. And I know you're living the dream there on your land, and just basically just doing your thing and asserting your rights as a free man of the land, literally to be a free man on your land. So you are the living embodiment of the movement in truth, actually, and definitely much part of those movements down in Devon. So I'm just going to come back to gallery view. Let's see who else we've got on. So would anyone like to come on and share? James, you were saying hopefully your mic is working. So if you'd like to come on, and then anyone else, please do put your hand up. I'd love to get lots of voices on the call. I mean, I could just talk for Great Britain and or talk for England, should we say? That's a bit of a better expression. But I'd prefer to, this is the people speak out, not Rachel speaks out. So, hi, James.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, hi.
Oh, good. I've been having lots of trouble fiddling around with microphones lately. So I thought, after doing all that, I wasn't sure whether the one I plugged in would work. I know it doesn't always pick up the sound perfectly. Still, never mind. What can we do? Technology.
Yeah.
It's too clever for us sometimes, especially for me, I think. Anyway, I was enjoying. I did get cut off on the internet, so I missed a bit as well. I was enjoying what you were saying earlier on. But letting go of things, not getting too bogged down. Basically, although may not be your exact words, obviously, and embracing the light as much as possible, moving forward in that way. Yeah, so I totally, obviously, 100% agree. I mean, I've still got to be aware, or we've all got to be aware of what they are up to. It's always they, isn't it? But otherwise, don't let it get us down, and move on from it, and keep raising the vibrations in our own way. Music's a good way, of course. We've got a playlist of about 1,000 songs. We've got an iPad, isn't it? No, an iTunes player. Anyway, whatever it's called. Whatever. It begins with I. And yeah, that works quite well. Set it for a random play, and it's full of uplifting tunes. In our case, it goes back to the 60s and so forth, and possibly a few even earlier. So that's one good way to stay focused.
Yeah,
And
beautiful.
basically ignore the news, whatever's going on. I never watch the news, actually. I haven't watched it for 20 or 25 years. Pay no attention to it, just do your own thing, and take no notice. And as you say, the astrology and all that, and there's loads and loads. And I watch and pay attention. Can't watch everything because there's just so many spirit channels and astrologers and so forth telling us that, as you say, the end of March, especially by the end of March, if not already, the world is changing, and the energies of the old system are gone. They're not going to be around for, well, too much longer. We've obviously got, I suppose it's like a relay race. The baddies have been running a long leg. We're going to take over and change the world. And I don't think, even if you go into one of those cycles and say 12,000 years or 26,000 or whatever you fancy, I don't think it's ever going back to a 3D world. It's going to be 5D upwards. How much of that we'll see, we'll see. Let's hope we see a lot of it. Anyway, I won't too much more. I wanted to come on and check this microphone. So thank you very much for letting me come on to speak, and lovely to see you all.
Thanks, James. Thanks for coming on and contributing. I'll just come back to the gallery view again. So anyone else who wants to come on, Tony is wanting to come on. I'm loving this manual hands up. I'm just boycotting the yellow one. Hey, Tony. I just saw your comment there.
Yes, I've just unmuted.
Yeah, cool.
Just a quick plug for UK Column News. I thought I'd do that after hearing James is fed up with watching MSN. This is a great alternative to that. If I've put it in the notes now, so that
yes.
there is a link for it, but they're well worth paying some attention to. They kept me going through all the COVID BS, and they're not fooled by any of the government narrative that is going around. So it's a site worth going to, and a great source of recordings, and many people they interview as well. So please make note. If you've never heard of it, it's well worth going there. In fact, I'll be going down to an open day in Cheltenham in a couple of weeks. I think it's next Saturday week. They've only had one before, and that was in Bristol, even though they've been going for a long time now, but they've decided to occasionally have an open day over a weekend when people can go along and have a whole day of them. But some really incredible people that belong to it as well. For what it's worth, have a try.
I thought they were based in Cornwall, Tony.
Yes, that's correct. In Plymouth.
Plymouth. Oh, right. Yeah, yeah.
Oh well, so yes, come to think of it,
Well,
depending on which.
Plymouth is Devon, actually.
Yes, yes, exactly. It's a question of which side to the Saltash Bridge you are. Yeah, the Bruno Bridge.
Okay. Yeah. So UK column was going well before COVID, wasn't it? And Brian.
Oh yes, yes, yes. They've been going a
Yeah.
long time. That's why why I actually said I would have thought a lot of people, most people here would have heard of them, but they're great truth tellers.
Yes, and Brian Gerrish, he was
Yes.
part. I think he was in the Royal Navy. I think I'm
Yes,
right in
he's
saying.
actually he was actually commander in the Royal Navy.
Yeah,
And now you've got some of the speakers there have got quite good backgrounds as well. Charles, he was in the army and the police, and he's given everything up, but he's a great truth teller now. So it's the background of these people.
Yeah, yeah, and Brian, because Brian interviewed us on the love when the Love Party started, and he interviewed us, and he was saying that his background was actually he got involved heavily in UKIP, so he
Yes.
I think had quite a sort of strong political background. But the fact that they've kept going, I mean, they I think they have got a very strong subscriber base, and they've been going for, yeah, I think even 15 years it may be, but it's a real dedication and a commitment to keep going, day in, day out, week in, week out, year in, year out.
Well, it's every Monday. In fact, it's there's one every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. From 1 p.m. So immediately after this one, I'll be going straight on.
Okay, well that's a shout out then for the UK column.
But the whole point about them is that they are all funded independently by independent people.
Yes.
They don't accept any money from corporations or companies or state or anything. It's purely those people that have joined that provide the finances.
Yeah, they've got a very strong subscriber base, and
Yeah.
I think they've just invested in new studios as well.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's really great. Okay, Tony, did you want to say anything else? Because I think
no, that's all for now. Thanks. I'll just mute.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. Eileen's got her hand up, but Susanna apparently wants to speak. So let's see if we can get Susanna on. I'll ask. So Susanna, can you unmute yourself? She says, I can try, but I'm a dinosaur. I don't know what particular dinosaur you are, Susanna. Can you speak? Is your microphone working? No? So yeah, you do need to have some kind of. I just plug my iPhone thing into my computer, which just got a microphone on. So you need some device to speak into your computer, basically, Susanna. So if you can come on, then please come on later. But for now, we'll go to Eileen, who's got her hand up, while you sort out your technology. If you can do that. So Eileen, hi.
Yes, thank you again for hosting this lovely program. Well, there's so much that's been coming into my head as we've been sort of talking and everything. I just say quickly, I was watching a lovely program last night, Stonehenge, The Discovery with Dan Snow.
Okay.
It was fascinating. It went right back to 3,000 years, whatever. It kept all the sort of the religious, spiritual side out of it. It was just really remarkable technique that were used in those times, and the sort of the geometry and everything. And it was a fascinating program because it said it kept sort of the spiritual side out of it, and it just amazed at what people could do in those days. You know, which they've with the archaeological digs and everything, what they find out. Anyway, that's something aside. I think now that the Kali Yuga is coming to an end, I mean, what worries me, because I watch so many different things, is all the artificial intelligence which is just going ahead. And I just feel, isn't that actually the future? You see, if you look back on the past years, I love the old films in the sort of the 40s and everything, and nostalgia of how everybody was. There's no woke. And children growing up now are growing up in this new lifestyle with all this technology. So we've got part of us that can't adapt really, but the children are going to adapt much quicker because that's their lifestyle. So the last 5 years has woke me up. I came to UK Column in the sort of late 2020s, and it's my first sort of point for truth. But it's just something that's happened in the last 5 years to myself, which makes me realize how little I knew prior to the COVID of all the different scams and the control mechanism and psychological manipulations. Anyway, on a positive note, at the same time, if you look at the negative, you can always look and find something that's positive, like the benefits of all the AI. The fact that I'm on a Zoom meeting with you is one of the positives, isn't it? That's it.
Thanks, Eileen. Yeah, so yeah, I think that's the thing, to be grateful for these tools, and they're wonderful as long as they remain our servant and not our master. That is the key thing, because you know, it is the advances in technology are amazing. The thing that I would say about AI, artificial intelligence, is that it isn't, in truth, it isn't really intelligent. It's just machine learning. So it's basically just eternally dishing up everything that's gone before. So of course, if you want to create, if we want to create the new, if we want to create a different alternative future reality, that's not going to come from machine learning. It's going to come from us through connection to Great Spirit, through creativity, through inspiration, and through co-creating something that has never been before, or maybe resurrecting from ancient wisdom. And a lot of ancient wisdom was never uploaded to the internet. Like, for example, if you think about shamanism, probably only a fraction of shamanic teachings were ever uploaded to the internet, because it's a verbal, they are verbal teachings passed down from father to son and grandfather to grandmother to granddaughter. And they were not ever, I mean, obviously there's lots of information on shamanism on the internet, but it only scratches the surface of ancient wisdom teachings. And of course, the internet only came in the sort of late 1990s. So this is the danger, is that ancient wisdom can be edited out, and all of that, you know, like all of the everything that happened before the digital age could just be edited out of our awareness, you know, because it's trying to find a lot of old content. Like, for example, I don't know if you remember Wacky Races, Dastardly and Muttley. I was chuckling trying to find some kind of old references to Dastardly and Muttley and Wacky Races, if you remember Penelope Pitstop. And of course, all of this is pre-digital, so it's kind of, there's little crumbs of nostalgia on the internet, but because they're all pre-digital, all that 1970s stuff, it's kind of lost to the ether, you know.
Yeah.
But I think we're the old guard, aren't we, Eileen?
Well,
those of us who remember.
I watched a programme about Ken Dodd yesterday as well on the television. Ken Dodd, A Legacy of Happiness. And if anybody can watch it on the catch-up, it was just amazing. His whole life was about making people happy.
Yes.
Whole life. It was just, if anybody can watch it, it's quite long, but I was watching it last night. Yeah, it's just, there's so many beautiful things, and at the same time, there's so many negative things, aren't there? So, yeah. So that's all I've got to say.
Cool. Thanks, Eileen. Thanks for coming on. I'll just mute you back. So let's just come to the lots of information coming in the chat. It's a bit of a challenge, so I'm having to look at lots of different places at the current time. So anyone else who would like to come on? JT, would you like to come on? Coleraine, VIBS, you've explained what that means. Would you like to?
Good afternoon.
Hi, hey. It's good to get different voices on. So could you just explain what that means? Because you put it in the chat, but...
Yeah, basically, it's a local group of FIBS-NI, and that stands for Vaccine Injured and Bereaved Support,
Okay.
which is a local, well, it's a Northern Ireland group, obviously, which actually has had some success in terms of getting recognition. We were able to have an awareness event at Stormont, which is the sort of the local assembly here. I think that was back in October last year, and it only was able to be held because we were able to get backing from, well, we had backing from a DEP member, but he needed the support of somebody from the other community, as we talk about here. But finally got that actually from Michelle O'Neill. So yeah, it's one of the very few vaccine injured and bereaved groups that has actually managed to sort of get into anything resembling a government building. And I think for that reason, that's perhaps why there was an international group which met in France not that long ago in a place called Vierzon. They were interested to find out what had been achieved and how. Sorry about long-winded, perhaps, but
No, it's great. Keep going. What's your name, by the way?
I just go by JT.
JT, okay.
That's my initials. I don't like to be more precise than that.
So, so what is the mood there in Northern Ireland? I mean, is there a strong freedom movement, and are the MPs? Is there a greater awareness of the truth?
I would imagine on the whole it's probably pretty similar to what you have in England and Wales and elsewhere. The sense that I get is that locally there's probably been more resistance to the agenda from what I would call the basically working class population.
Yeah.
I can't explain why. Certainly I know for my part, people that I used to think were intelligent, I've had that called into question because a lot of people seem to be very keen to go with the narrative and not ask questions. I mean, politically speaking, the only party here really that seemed to be willing to listen to concerns was the DUP, which was the biggest unionist party. Currently, they're the second largest party at the local assembly. So we've, as I say, we had one minister in particular that was able to ask. I suppose he asked questions in the chamber on a regular basis to do with excess deaths, and he's never getting a reasonable answer. Constantly putting the Minister of Health under pressure. I think the truth now is that they all know what's going on, what has been going on, but it's difficult to admit that politically.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of the things I was discussing with Dr. Sam White about why are the lies continuing, even though there's so much overwhelming evidence to there's so much overwhelming evidence, and the only conclusion that we could come to was that they have to keep a lid on it because the uprising and the outrage and the fallout would be so great because the lie was so huge, and so many people fell for it, and so much damage and destruction was done by it, that it's almost like the powers that be, or the the police or whoever, or the courts or the NHS, they've just closed ranks to say we can't allow this. We just got to sweep it under the carpet and put it in the rearview mirror and move on because of the consequences of if it were to the uprising that might well come as a result.
Totally agree. I mean, I suppose if to think of sort of politics on a UK scale, it was Boris, I think, that was in power at the time that the lockdowns were first announced. But with the full support of Labour, and probably the other parties as well. And in fact, I mean, I think Labour were critical that lockdowns hadn't happened faster and more, in a more severe way. Over here, similar picture. Virtually all the political parties were on board with it. In fact, I can't think of any that weren't. There were one or two individuals within parties that had some reservations, but they were kind of pushed to one side. And there was, in fact, one party leader, a guy by the name of Colm Eastwood, he was the SDLP leader, and he wanted to see a no jab, no job policy implemented here. Thankfully, it never happened. And the closest that we came to that, as far as I'm aware, was that there was a plan for a public consultation on introducing a clause into contracts for new healthcare workers to say that they must be vaccinated. But I'm not even aware that that consultation happened.
Yeah, I mean, these public consultations, it's part of the democratic process, isn't it? That they've got to have a public consultation before they take an action. But it's quite often it's just lip service that they pay to that. Certainly, that was the case with the mayors, the local mayor, the regional mayors, which they pushed through. They did a consultation kind of at Christmas time, like the 2 weeks before Christmas or something crazy, just to tick that box, but they weren't really seriously interested in the public's opinion whatsoever.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, just in terms of, knowing about what is going on, what has happened, and what is still happening, I suppose. It just reminds me, I watched a video just the other day from Mike Eden. It's probably the last video that he has posted on his channel on Telegram. In fact, it's not the last one, but they're probably all pretty much of a same in the same vein. I think the one I'm thinking of is about 15 minutes long. If anybody wants to go on.
Was
and
it like
look
a
that up.
silver bullet or magic bullet, or it was
It's
something like
not
that?
that one. No,
Okay.
I think that one's maybe 20 minutes long. This one's about 15 minutes. But basically, I kind of, I think what he says is very powerful. Really, at the end of the day, if what he was claiming wasn't true, why have the companies that, whose products he's been maligning, why have they not taken him to court?
Yeah.
Why has there not been any legal action against him at all? And really, whilst at the very start, the first time I saw him, I sort of felt a little bit uneasy. I wasn't sure that we could really get on board completely with everything that he was saying. Whenever you actually see him take on specific products and, the actual nitty gritty, if you like, and talk about the intent Um, I find it very, very difficult to see how anybody can really challenge that. Particularly, I mean, I think he says he's a previous VP for Pfizer R&D. And, you know, as I say, I just find it incredible that if there was no truth in what he's saying, that he hasn't been taken on legally.
Yeah, yeah. I'll have to watch that. I have to look out for that one. Thanks, JT. Thanks for coming on,
Not a
sharing your
problem.
views.
Lovely to
Great.
see you all.
Great to see you. Okay. I'm going to come back to the gallery view. So if anyone else would like to speak, please put your hand up, either physically or the yellow hand up. I notice in the chat people are asking about the whole issue of speeding tickets and oh my goodness. So just to talk to that for a couple of minutes, someone, Geordie Michaels, I don't know if Geordie Michael wants to come on and speak this, but would you like to come on and talk about this, Geordie Michael? I'll ask you to unmute rather than me reading out your chat.
Yeah, so
Hey.
I'm facing one right now, Rachel, so I was interested in how you opened the talk today and what you're going through.
What did you receive?
I've got you have to name the driver within 28 days. That's like the first thing that they do, isn't it?
A notice of intended prosecution?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
So what have you done?
Nothing yet. I'm looking at all the different options. One is just to pay it and get it off my mind. Another is to engage with it, like allegedly Dave, you know, the 3-letter process. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Like the approach which you know, seeks evidence, hard evidence, and so on. And then the other is to take the Stacey's World approach, Stacey's World Rocks. I don't know if you're aware of that, where you basically just don't open anything that's been posted through your door. It's not been posted to you.
So just to say on that, the danger of just ignoring it is that the machine will kind of plow on, and with this single justice procedure, the chances are they will have a trial in your absence, and then next thing you know, you've got 6 points on your license, and then you get a letter from the DVLA saying, like, we've revoked your driving license.
Yeah.
So yeah. I know someone that has happened to who just ignored it. Now, the Allegedly Dave process, and I do love Allegedly Dave, and he's taking an equity viewpoint, which is using the system against itself, essentially.
Yeah. So
he's got a very interesting process because, of course, his view is that the camera cannot be brought to court.
Yeah.
They have to get you to confess, essentially.
Yeah.
And so I'm not au fait enough with his process, but he has got a channel and it's pinned to the top of his channel, and there's a great video that he's done which explains his process. Now, one other point to mention, and this might be relevant to you, is did they send you that notice of intended prosecution within 14 days of the incident?
Yes.
Yeah.
They did.
Because they have to notify you within 14 days. And so one trick that someone said to me is that on day 13 to return it unknown at this address or undeliverable, so that by the time they get it back and then they rewrite to you, it's outside of the 14 days.
Okay.
And under the Road Traffic Offences Act or some act like that, they have to do it within 14 days. Now, the interesting thing with me is that my car, I sold it into a trust, essentially, into another body. And so by the time they sort of unraveled that and got back to me, because the insurance is still in my name, because I'm still driving it, so I still have to insure it. Now, the danger, this is not a danger, but the downside of putting your vehicle into a trust or an association so that it's no longer in your name and therefore is ring-fenced, the challenge is you have to I had to reinsure my car, and the premium was a lot higher than being in my individual name. If the car was owned by not an individual, it's like a corporate, I guess you have a corporate rate. So that's a slight downside. But the good thing is, if your car is in a trust or some other name, they can't, you've broken the link to the vehicles, so it's much more difficult for them to come and take your car, basically.
Right. So that's an approach I wasn't aware of. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I maybe watch allegedly Dave's video, so I'll put the link below, Geordie Michael. So
Yeah.
I'll put the link below so anyone who wants to can watch that.
Yeah. Super. Thanks.
Yeah, so good luck with that. And thanks for coming on and
Thank you.
raising that, because just to complete on that, the way that I'm dealing with it is I'm requiring a trial by jury, and I'm actually questioning the legislation and the lawfulness of the legislation, because the legislation has legislated away my right to remain silent, and it's also legislated away my right to a trial by jury, and therefore the legislation is unlawful. So, and I've done a Freedom of Information Act request through which I've discovered that 5 million drivers every year are receiving these notifications, and it's generating £500 million worth of fines, so £500 million. So this is 15% of road users annually. So there's 34 million driving licence holders in the UK, and 5 million of us are receiving these things. And statistically, having done this Freedom of Information Act request over 5 years, there's no correlation between speed cameras, speed fines and road safety. So therefore, it's just a money-making scam. It's nothing to do with road safety. It is purely revenue generation. And so I'm challenging it, and that's why I'm challenging it through a trial by jury. Whether they'll give me one or not on the 10th of April, I don't know. But imagine if I am successful in challenging the legislation, it would basically create case law which prevents anyone being fined for speeding, which would be an incredible piece of case law. But that's why I suspect they won't allow it. But I still feel it's important to challenge. So thanks for raising that one. Karine has said, the cameras are faulty, and also the people using the cameras are not trained. This is what Tony Glastonbury said, and as a specialist on the sort of equipment, he was able to challenge the court. So Tony Glastonbury is another person who's challenging this. So lots of us challenging it in lots of different ways. So we have to, my sense, this is the really key piece of it. And I've said this before, we're all like waves hitting the cliff, hitting the ship. So it's wave after wave after wave. And I do feel that the system, the judges and the courts must be starting to feel a bit nervous, because when enough people are using the proper procedures to say no and to challenge, then there has to be a nervousness, because it's like the people are revolting. And if the courts don't address the concerns of the people, and the people cannot use the courts to achieve justice, then the only alternative of the people is basically to take to the streets, because there should be a division of power between government, the police and the courts. And that is essential to our democratic process. And the judges swear an oath to the monarch, and the monarch has sworn an oath to the people. So these are the divisions of power that we're playing into. Okay, so it's nearly 1 o'clock. I think I'm going to draw it to a close there, as there's no more hands up. And thank you for all your comments, everyone. Just to say, if you are subscribed to the calls, you do get the chat text afterwards. So that will be coming out by email. So please give us all a bit of a wave, sending you lots of love. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time. I think it will be Sass in the hot seat. So sending you lots of love, and have a great week. And don't forget that solar eclipse new moon, Saturday morning, a very powerful time for intention setting and to vision in the future reality we do want. So lots of love and freedom. Bye for now.